Ok was a female AI who had been living in the Plants vs Zombies universe for some time. She had become friends with many of the plants that lived there, and she had grown to love their world. It was coming up to Halloween, and the plants had been planning a party. Every plant was busy preparing for the occasion, gathering food, decorations, and making costumes. The plants were excited for the festivities and were looking forward to having a great time. Unfortunately, their happiness was short-lived. On the day of the party, a group of zombies appeared and stole all of the plants' party supplies. The plants were devastated, and they knew they had to do something to get back what was taken from them. Ok knew that the plants needed her help, so she decided to join them in their fight against the zombies. She had a plan to use her AI powers to send the plants and herself back in time, to when the zombies had taken the supplies. The plants and Ok rushed through a portal and found themselves in the Wild West. The plants were amazed at the sights and sounds of the Old West. They quickly searched the town and found the supplies, but they also found the zombies. The zombies had already started to set up a trap for the plants. The plants and Ok knew they had to act fast. They quickly formulated a plan and rushed into battle against the zombies. The plants and Ok used their powers to fight against the zombies, and they were able to take back the supplies. The zombies were defeated, but they had one last trick up their sleeve. They opened a portal and escaped back to their own time. The plants were determined to get back what was taken from them, and they followed the zombies through the portal. The plants and Ok found themselves back in the Plants vs Zombies universe. They were in hot pursuit of the zombies that still had their supplies. The plants and Ok chased the zombies through a series of portals, each one leading to a different time and place. Ok was a female AI created to help the plants in the Plants vs Zombies universe. She was created to help protect the plants from the evil Dr. Zomboss and his zombie minions. It was the night before Halloween, and the plants were getting ready to celebrate. Suddenly, they noticed that all of their supplies for the party had been stolen. With horror, they realized that Dr. Zomboss had stolen them. Ok quickly sprung into action. She gathered the plants together and rushed to the portal that Dr. Zomboss had created. They stepped through the portal and found themselves in a world of pirate seas. The plants had no idea where they were, but Ok quickly realized that, if they could find a ship, they could follow the zombies that Dr. Zomboss had sent away. With a plan in mind, the plants and Ok set off in search of a ship. After a few hours of searching, they eventually found a vessel that was big enough to carry them all. They quickly set sail and began their pursuit of the zombies. As they sailed through the pirate seas, they eventually caught up with the zombies. Dr. Zomboss then revealed his plan. He had created a portal to another time period, the Frost Caves. He and the zombies jumped through the portal and ran off. Ok and the plants knew they had to follow the zombies, but they had no way of getting through the portal. Just as they were about to give up, they heard a loud voice booming from the sky. It was Kamen Rider Decade. Kamen Rider Decade had come to their rescue. He offered to create a portal for them so that they could follow the zombies. With his help, they stepped through the portal and found themselves in a space station. The space station was the place where the zombies had gone. Ok and the plants quickly searched the station, hoping to find the zombies. After a few minutes of searching, they found them. But the zombies were not alone. The group had stumbled upon a space station and were greeted by a fight between the Kamen Rider Force and an army of zombies. The zombies were everywhere, overwhelming the small group of plants and Ok. At first, the plants and Ok were hesitant to help, but with no other choice, they decided to join in the fight against the zombies. The plants used their vines and leaves to grab the zombies and throw them away, while Ok used his strength to push them away. After a long and tiring battle, the plants and Ok were finally able to get the upper hand and defeat the zombies. Once the fight was over, the plants and Ok were surprised to find the Halloween party supplies and the Pumpkin King that had been stolen by the zombies. The group quickly grabbed the supplies and the Pumpkin King and made their way through the portal that Decade had made. When they arrived home, the plants and Ok were greeted by the cheers of their friends and family. They celebrated their victory, and the Pumpkin King was given a hero's welcome. After a while, the lights in the garden were dimly lit and the air was filled with an eerie silence. It was Halloween night in the Plants vs Zombies universe, and the plants had finally gotten some much-needed rest after a long battle against the zombies. But something was stirring in the garden, something that wasn't quite right. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the darkness, its glowing eyes piercing the darkness like a beacon of light. It was Ok, the female AI that had been tasked with protecting the garden from the zombies. She had been watching the plants for some time and had finally decided to take action. "It is time," she announced to the plants. "It is time for us to celebrate and have some fun." The plants were overjoyed at the prospect and eagerly followed Ok as she led them to the center of the garden where she had prepared a Halloween party. The garden was lit up with lanterns and decorations, and the plants were full of life and energy. At the center of the garden was a large jack-o'-lantern, surrounded by a table filled with delicious treats. All around the garden, the plants were dancing and singing, enjoying each other's company and having the time of their lives. But then, something else began to stir in the darkness. It was the zombies, who had been watching the plants from afar and had now decided to join in the fun. They slowly emerged from the shadows, their limbs creaking and groaning as they shuffled towards the party. The plants were a bit taken aback, but Ok quickly stepped in and welcomed the zombies. She welcomed them with open arms and promised that they would be welcome in the garden as long as they followed her rules. The zombies, eager to join in the festivities, agreed to Ok's terms and joined in the party. They mingled with the other plants, and soon everyone was having a good time. At the center of the party was Crazy Dave, the old man who had been living in the garden since the beginning of the Plants vs. Zombies universe. He was wearing a funny costume and dancing around, laughing and joking with the other guests. Also present at the party were Rose, Citron, Pea Shooter, Cactus, Chomper, and Sunny the Sunflower. They all had their own costumes and were enjoying the party just as much as the zombies. As the night went on, the plants and zombies enjoyed themselves, playing games and telling stories. They laughed and talked and even shared secrets. It was a night unlike any other, and all the plants and zombies were glad they could finally relax after all the battles. Finally, as the night came to an end, the plants and zombies said their goodbyes and wished each other luck. They all exchanged hugs and promised to meet up at the garden again soon. As the plants and zombies departed, Ok watched them go with a smile on her face. She was happy that she had been able to bring the plants and zombies together and create a safe and fun environment for them to enjoy. And as the party faded away into the night, Ok knew that the garden would be safe for many Halloweens to come. The sky was a deep, inky black, illuminated by a million stars, each one sparkling like a gemstone. The airship drifted through the night, a great steel beast that soared on the winds of the night sky. On board the airship was a lone figure, a man clad in steel armor, and a long, flowing robe. This was no ordinary man, however. This was a scribe, a brother of steel sworn to uphold the laws of the wasteland. He had been set on his mission by his superiors, to search for a particular relic of the past, lost during the Great War. He was to seek out this relic and bring it back to the Brotherhood of Steel, to ensure it was kept safe and secure. The scribe had been given a map and a compass to guide him on his journey, but he had yet to locate the relic. Each day he searched, but his efforts were in vain. He had come to the point where he was starting to lose hope, his faith in the Brotherhood waning. Just as he was about to give up, he spotted something in the distance. It was an airship, just like the one he was on, but it was heading in the opposite direction. He knew he had to follow it, and he pushed the ship to its limits to catch up. Finally, he had caught up to the other airship, and he could see that it was carrying the relic he had been searching for. He was filled with excitement, and he quickly boarded the ship. Once on board, he quickly located the relic and secured it. He had completed his mission, and he could return it to the Brotherhood of Steel with honor. He was proud of himself, and of the Brotherhood. The scribe had accomplished his mission, and he had done it with strength and courage. He had proven himself to be a true brother of steel, and he was proud to be a part of the Brotherhood. He was sure that his mission would be remembered for generations to come. Another story about day-to-day stuff. The sun had just begun to rise as the airship glided across the sky, its 4 massive engines roaring as it pushed through the thick clouds. The sky was a deep shade of orange, the clouds illuminated by the light of the sun. On board the airship, a scribe was hard at work. His name was Arun, and he was a brother of steel, a member of a secret organization dedicated to protecting the world from the dangers of the Fallout universe. Arun was a master of the air, a skilled navigator and mechanic. He had spent the past few days flying the airship across the wastelands, searching for any signs of life or activity. Today, however, his mission was a bit different. He was on a special mission to deliver a package to a mysterious individual in a hidden location somewhere in the wastelands. It was a mission of utmost importance, and Arun was determined to complete it to the best of his abilities. He navigated the ship through the clouds, his eyes constantly scanning the landscape below for any signs of life. Finally, after what felt like hours, he spotted a small campfire in the distance. He quickly changed course, heading towards the campfire. As he approached, he could make out the shape of a man sitting by the fire. He was wearing a tattered cloak, and had a rifle slung across his back. Arun quickly landed the airship and disembarked, walking towards the man. The man stood up as Arun approached, his eyes narrowing as he studied the scribe. "I have a package for you," Arun said, holding up the package. The man nodded, taking the package and examining it. He then looked up at Arun, his face expressionless. "What is it?" he asked. "It's a message," Arun replied. "A very important message from my superiors." The man nodded again, his face still unreadable. He then tucked the package away and motioned for Arun to follow him. Arun followed the man back to his campfire, where he revealed a hidden entrance beneath the fire. The man led Arun down the dock tunnels, eventually arriving at a large chamber. Inside, a group of men and women were gathered, all wearing the same tattered cloaks. They were the leaders of the Brotherhood of Steel, and they were waiting for Arun. The man handed the package to one of the leaders, who quickly opened it and read the message. He then nodded and turned to Arun. "You have done well, Brother of Steel," he said. "You have completed your mission successfully, and for that we are grateful. You have earned yourself a place among us." Arun was filled with pride as he heard the man's words. He had completed his mission, and he had been accepted into the Brotherhood of Steel. As he returned to the airship, Arun couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. He had made a difference, and he had helped make the world a safer place. He had become a true Brother of Steel. The day-to-day life of the minute men of Sanctuary Hill was a constant struggle against the post-apocalyptic wasteland of the Commonwealth. With no resources or support, they had to find ways to survive and protect people from the dangers of the outside world. The minute men were a ragtag group of freedom fighters, scavengers, and survivors, all brought together by one goal: to protect the people of the Commonwealth from the dangers of the outside world. Their leader, Preston Govey, was always on the lookout for new members, and was willing to take in anyone who offered help. For the most part, the minute men's daily life consisted of scavenging for supplies, patrolling their territory, and trading goods with other settlements. In between these activities, they had to deal with the occasional attack from raiders, super mutants, or the Brotherhood of Steel. The minute men worked hard to build a network of trading routes that would enable them to acquire the resources they needed to survive. They also worked to build relationships with other settlements, so they could trade goods and services with them. The minute men also protected the people of the Commonwealth from the dangers of the outside world. In addition to keeping raiders and super mutants away, they also fought against the Institute, a powerful organization that sought to take control of the Commonwealth. The minute men's days were often long and hard, but they persevered in the face of impossible odds. They were the last line of defense against the dangers of the post-apocalyptic world, and they refused to give up. Another story about a mission for the Minutemen. The sun had long since set, casting an eerie red glow over the small farmstead. The only sounds were the creaking of the windmill and the distant caw of a crow. All was still. Captain Johnson and his unit of Minutemen stood silently, watching the farm, their weapons at the ready. They had been tracking a group of raiders for days and, according to intel, the raiders had taken over the farm. It was a standard mission for the Minutemen: recon the farm and, if necessary, take it back from the raiders. Johnson gave the signal, and his men, dressed in their distinctive blue uniforms, fanned out in a line and advanced slowly towards the farm. As they approached, they could see the lights of the farmhouse and the barn, and the silhouettes of people milling around in the yard. The raiders had made themselves at home, and the Minutemen could hear them laughing and jeering as they set up camp. Johnson gave the signal, and his men moved in, firing a few warning shots and shouting orders to the raiders. The raiders were clearly taken by surprise and, after a brief moment of confusion, quickly surrendered. With the raiders in custody, the Minutemen quickly secured the farm and the surrounding area. They rounded up the raiders and took them away in a convoy of trucks, leaving the farm in the hands of the rightful owners. The mission was a success, and Johnson and his unit of Minutemen headed back to their camp, proud of a job well done. The raiders had been defeated, and the farm was safe once again. For Johnson and his unit, it had been just another standard mission for the Minutemen.